Testing our sound levels. Josh, can you speak, please?
Hello, welcome to Solstice Proline Cup Series here on HVMP. Hello.
Testing audio.
Hello.
Hello, and they're going down into turn 1, and oh my god, Josh, they're wrecking.
And they're crashing, and they're wrecking, and it's all Dylan Littlegood's fault, and I would not be surprised if he got punched. Hello. Hello, welcome to HVMP coverage.
Talking. Blah. Brandon.
Testing.
Kentucky, so... Oh, how many more minutes we have?
7.
Oh boy. And it's Chassis 5, which, you know who loves Chassis 5, right? I mean, that's my favorite fucking... God. Of course, the one race I've run the entire season, and it's Chassis 5.
We're in quali.
Can you drag me back up to the driver channel?
Hello? Am I on the right channel? Whoa. Is that the guy with the funny name?
Okay, I'm back. Hello.
I got it to work, yay!
Yeah!
Yeah! I just had to manually fucking unplug the power cord 3 times and hard reset it.
You're registered for the server, so...
Yeah, I'm back in and everything. I got everything working now. Is that
Nice.
Cosmosis Jones up here with us, or is that just somebody else?
It's Mr. B. Nicky.
What the fuck is that? So
I don't know.
confused, man.
I kind of like this. If we go live a little early, just kind of chill. Then
I've just got everything like unmuted right now. It's just gonna be satellite feedish.
That's you. That's me, Nikki. I get it now, dude. I'm a little slow. I just did the thing. Wish we could watch him during qualifying.
so we're gonna go live in 3 minutes.
Okay.
I kind of like this. We go live a little.
Well, at least we know everything's working.
Chad's on pole by half a tenth.
A shit done froze, boys.
Fucking Dylan's racing on a TV tray in the living room.
Oh man, I broke it.
Mr. Jeffrey Stanton making a return today.
I haven't seen him in a while.
Ah!
What was
Fuck
that?
this piece of... I'm just so fucking mad at this fucking computer. Well, here we go. For this fucking computer again. About done with this shit.
Okay. 20 seconds.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom really fast.
15 seconds. For those of you that are joining us for Solstice Proline, we'll go live in just a moment.
He's keeping his foot in it. They're going to be side by side coming down, and it's going to be Caleb Hall taking it.
The phrase goes, you're only as good as your own last race. But Solstice Proline certainly proved that every race is exciting in its own way. The Mile High City is the venue for today's race at the little-known track of the Denver Motorsports Park. Northeast of downtown Denver, right off the interchange of Interstate 70 and Colorado E470 in Aurora, the 2.28-mile oval packs a unique punch with its 13-degree banked turns, 9-degree banked tri-oval, and a flat-back straightaway, which, believe it or not, these cars are getting over 220 miles an hour on the straights, and they have to go down to 150 in the corners. Welcome to round 8 of the Solstice Proline Cup Series at the Denver Motorsport Park. It's Dylan Body next to me in the commentary box. I am Josh Mertz as we welcome you to live flag-to-flag coverage of Solstice Proline here on HVMP. I hope you're here, Dylan. I know you're having some issues, but I have to ask you, if you're here, this track is very interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun place. You know, it's like a super high speed, high stakes variation on the Michigan or Auto Club kind of layout. Pretty flat, big, long sweeping turns, you know, rounded front straightaway. But the package here has got these guys kind of, you know, from what I've been told and what I've seen, a little bit wadded up, kind of almost pretty draft heavy down the straightaways here. So it should be interesting to see how these guys do with slowing down from a big pack on a straightaway to make those corners.
I have a bunch of storylines that I have listed up, but the number one thing that we have to talk about today is Mr. Dylan Livingood. You are not in the production truck. You lied to me. You're in a race car right now.
Yeah, that would be correct, Josh. You know, when you own the company, you can make your own rules sometimes, and here I am, top of the charts right now. Actually, I really found something here in a happy hour, I think.
How are these cars handling? I was just telling Dylan in the intro piece here, it's an interesting style track with the corners and everything. How's everything going?
It feels like you're in a big truck with a snowplow in the front. I mean, it really does. It's hard to get it through the corner. It's basically like a big Kentucky. These corners are really wide radius. A little bit of bumps in the corners, which upset the car a little bit, and you just have to wait so long to get back up on the throttle that it really makes things challenging.
Who, aside from you, obviously, in Happy Hour, who do you see as some of your main rivals? Who's strong, who's not?
Oh man, I haven't even been able to figure that one out yet. Racing right here with the 60 of Jeremy Stanley, having fun doing so. I'd say probably look out for you know, the usual offenders are going to be fast. I think once we get into race mode here, things are going to swap around a whole lot from our practice times.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll let you finish up Happy Hour, and we will talk to you shortly. Good luck.
10-4, thank you guys.
As Mr. Dylan Bonney, I have to start out talking today by mentioning that there's no Dylan Smith and there's no Michael Frisch. They took provisionals for today. Bailey's had horrible luck, but he still leads the points after the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and you know, we've been seeing a lot of strange strategies playing out over the last few weeks. So that's something that's really been in the back of my mind heading into this weekend, this race weekend, I should say. We're in kind of the middle of the week, but you know, what kind of strategy are we going to see today? This is a whole new track to a lot of these guys. Not a lot of these guys have a lot of laps here. You know, it's not something that's been a very popular scheduled raceway for a very long time here. So should be fun to see what kind of shenanigans we get into here tonight.
As we've been seeing, obviously Dylan just said it's like a Kentucky. We've seen it's like Auto Club, like Michigan. One of the things, ironically, that he was racing next to Jeremy Stanley, I think that he's going to be one to watch today. The king of strategy, it seems, Arnold Columbia, after last week's surprise performance in Darlington. Before we get to gridding, Before we get to gridding, let's go over the grid. Front row is Chad Mikas and Cosman. Chad is half a tenth faster than Cosman. Chris Wetz and Dylan Poteet on the second row. Third row is Lambert and Stanley. Erdman and Bailey on row 4. Row 5 is Rada and Livingood. Row 6 is Stanton and Jake Poulin, Jeffrey Stanton. And the 7th row is Nick Baker and Cole DeRozier. It's interesting to see that we have Jeffrey Stanton making his re-debut, as I know he's been sporadic with appearances, so it's good to see him back.
Yeah, it's a guy I remember from back in the day when I was part of the stuff going on here at Solstice a lot more often. He was one of the regulars back then, so definitely cool to see him. Haven't seen him since I've been back around in the Solstice booth, so definitely be nice to see what he can do with these guys. As
we are about to begin gridding happy hour, confirmed Livingood at the top of the timesheets, 43.055. Jeremy Stanley, 43.156. It's going to be interesting to see as Dylan has not been in a stock car in quite some time. There was a race that we both ran at Talladega. It was a spotters race where one of us would have to race, one of us spot, and then we switch roles. That was nearly 2 years ago, and I believe that's the last time that I've seen him in a stock car. Going to be definitely interesting to see, and I don't really know what to expect at this track. It's such a unique venue, such a wide track.
Yeah, I feel like with all the new faces or familiar faces that haven't been here in a while, it's pretty much just a complete wild card for this race week.
Let's see. I think we're going to get a couple more minutes in happy hour. Chad Mikas in the 25, running his throwback because he wasn't able to run last week in Darlington. As ironically, he was flying to Darlington for the Cup Series weekend, so he wasn't able to race Proline. As here we are, gridding up for this race in Denver. Front row of the grid is Mikas, and second place is Cosman. We got a lot of throwbacks in this race because some of these guys didn't run last week. Some ones to watch. I mean, Rada had a great run last week. We have to talk about that. We know Joey Bailey's really good as well. He had some rotten luck for the second week in a row. And then when we talk about Dylan Smith as well, but Mr. Smith unable to make it for today's race. On the grid, a couple seconds left before we fire up the engines. 14 cars for 88 laps. We go to the end of lap 20 for stage 1, 40 for stage 2, and the end is at 88 as we fire them up in Denver.
On behalf of the many great folks at Bass Pro Shops, Tracker, and MB&A, gentlemen, start your engines!
As we begin to roll for round 8 of the Solstice Proline Cup Series in 2019B, Chad Mikas and Cosman on the front row of the grid. Chris Wetz and Dylan Poteet. Like we mentioned, their teams apparently forgot to rewrap their cars, because it looks like got the 71 from Days of Thunder, and then the 31 looks like Jeff Burton's old car back in the late 90s.
Yeah, I know a thing or two about the 31 car.
I was going to say, didn't you design that car?
Yeah, they contacted us to go ahead and put that together for them to run in Solstice, and I think a few other places as well, so that's something that the team and I put together over here.
Pace cars off to begin the 8th round of the championship. Here on High Voltage Media Productions, Chad Mikas and Cosman on the front row of the grid for 88 laps. Here in Denver, Colorado. It's going to be a great race. We'll have to see what happens. Green flag.
Well, already fanning out 3 wide in the back. Somebody didn't get a good start.
Wetz didn't get a great start either. He got bumped by Lambert going to take the green flag. And into turn 1, Chad's got a 2.5, make it maybe 2 car length lead. Wetz pushes up the hill in the 71. As they're 3 wide, it was Erdman Stanley and Joey Bailey in the 51.
Yeah, Joey Bailey with a new paint scheme there this week. The pink and white colors with the Tinder on that Dodge Challenger this week, I believe.
As I'll have an ad read a little bit later on, but I just have to say about that car, I knew that was going to be a thing as we talked about it a couple days ago. There's an ad read that will wait. Jeffrey Stanton around in the 61 all by himself. He saves it. I thought he was going to save it. Loops it around twice off of turn number 4. I don't think we're going to get a caution. It was only one car.
And Cosman just led off really hard going into the first turn and lost 2 spots.
Caution is out.
Oh, that's
here in
why.
Denver.
There we go. Yep. Everybody's slowing down.
And 1 around, 2 around. It's Living Good in the 13, and Nick Baker in the 9. So our in-race reporter.
What happened?
Baker came off the wall into the 13, and he backed it into the fence.
Oh, yeah. Just real unfortunate. Wrong place, wrong time for Dylan. Hopefully the team can get that car repaired. We've seen a whole lot worse still be competitive here.
As the Revolution Racing crew we know from NASA Rallycross can certainly fix race cars. And, I mean, we did see a couple cars in the fence last week, Poulin and Erdman, I believe. So, certainly get that car fixed up and get him back on track.
And Mike is not going to come down pit road here. Where is he? Oh, I see what's happening.
I think we're restarting here.
Yeah, the 4th wall has been exploded.
Yes.
There are cars where cars should not be.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
in true Solstice fashion, when you see something like that, you know that the race.
When the guys start doing weird things, you know that there's a restart coming.
When vehicles start doing gymnastics and methods that you're really not supposed to. I'm thinking there might be a setup issue, honestly.
Yeah, it looked like there was a lot of issues on that. I know I've seen a lot of people complaining and talking about the cars being really tight and wanting to push in the corner. I'm wondering if maybe in a pack it's just almost unbearable and they're trying to make an adjustment quick.
We'll have to see. As looks like I think Jeremy Stanley, they're all just thinking everything back up here because everyone's jumping back in. We'll have to wait. We'll have to see. Obviously, we're restarting the race, but let me pull in Mr. Living Good. Dylan, can you give me some info as to what happened and why we're restarting?
Yeah, Jeffrey just got a little bit loose in front of me. We ended up getting into him, and then feel really bad for him. That's not the kind of race I want to have with this number 13 Native Roots Toyota. But then under that caution, as soon as we went down into turn 1, Baker made some contact with me and ended up damaging my car really bad. So we're going to do a quick restart here so I can pull the backup car out. Hopefully the backup car is just as fast because, like I said in Happy Hour, we really found something with that car, and I feel like we can make up positions from that poor qualifying spot that we got.
Alrighty, my friend. I think everyone's just sinking back in here with the transponders, and I think we should be good to go. So we'll go ahead and...
I know we did have an issue with another driver with their transponder going down the back straightaways, so I believe just with the combination of all the things, Solstice Racing does a great job of making sure that they have all their ducks in a row before we get these races kicked off, because they are long races, and we put a lot of time and effort into this. So hats off to Solstice Racing for getting this thing restarted here, and we'll see what we can do.
Starting to grid up. Good luck, my friend.
Thank you.
As we regrid for round number 8 here in Denver. And it's funny, they don't tell us over the scanner that, we're restarting, so everyone crashes and makes us look bad. And then they say, oh, after the fact, by the way, we're restarting.
Yeah, by the way, we're going to give it another go, guys.
We're going to try it again. So front row, like we mentioned, we're going to go over the grid again. Mike is Cosman, Wetz, Dylan Poteet, Stanley, Lambert Stanley rather, Erdman, Joey Bailey, Steve Rada, Dylan Livingood, Jeffrey Stanton, Big Poulin, Nick Baker, Cole DeRozier. As
On behalf of the many great folks at Bass Pro Shops, Tracker, and MBA,
let's try it again
gentlemen,
here in the Proline Cup Series in 2019B at the Denver Motorsport Park. I'm looking through this track, and I'm interested to know what that infield road course layout is. As,
Oh, it's a fun one. It's a really good track. A lot of people
Doesn't-
have had positive things to
have
say
they?
about
Have they?
it.
Is it finished? I didn't. I know they typically make oval tracks and they don't sometimes finish them. So is that actually finished?
Yeah. They have everything in place at the Speedway now to do full conversion, so they can run any circuit they choose now.
Ah.
It's a relatively new place. Hasn't been very active very
And
long.
we're
but they are,
wrecking
in fact,
under the pace lap. I think this is going to be another restart here, gentlemen.
What in the world is going on? I'm about to hit the music
Again. The Twilight Zone. Again. Third week in a row.
The Bermuda Triangle. We can't escape.
And Living Good's the only car that's taking this seriously. He comes to the grid acting like he's going to race. So confirmation transponder issues on one of these cars that resulted in us restarting again before we even get to the green. Let me tell you though, this isn't out of the ordinary. Well, it is, but it's not the first time it's happened because Chicagoland last season, that's why we had this issue twice on the start.
Yep, I remember.
So it's not unheard of at a new track. As taking a look at our live chat here, I have to talk to Mr. Victor Valley. If this is up to date or not, I'm not sure. But NASA Rallycross does race in the Denver area 3 times, actually. Canyon City, Colorado, and Lakewood, Colorado twice. Not downtown, though. NASA Rallycross has been thinking about expanding downtown, but they also don't want to run the same city 10 times in one weekend. Try it again before we even get going.
All right.
As we roll off, again. Let's try it again. Micus Cosman, Wetz Poteet, Lambert Stanley, Erdman, Bailey, Living Good, Rada, Stanton, Poulin, Baker, DeRozier, 14 cars, 88 laps. The joke was we're running 88 laps for Dale Jr.
88 for Dale.
88 for Dale.
I like that paint scheme, body armor colors on the number 60 Ford Mustang and Jeremy Stanley this weekend. Very nice car.
As pace car is going to pull off, we're going to try it again, and hopefully we don't have to do another restart. Micus will lead us down to the green flag here in Denver, 71 miles an hour. It's a long wait to the restart zone. We're trying it again. Green flag in Denver. Bailey already the outside in the 51.
Guys not afraid to fan out quick. I mean, very much like an auto club or, in Michigan. This track very reminiscent of those. And, we're getting some Kentucky comparisons from Dylan down on the track. It's a very interesting place.
Off of turn 2. There were transponder issues with Erdman, but he saved it. Poulin slides it in the 21 off of turn 2. It's not very grippy. And you said, this track isn't utilized that much. So there's a lot of dust. Even with all of the practice that has gone on, there's a lot of dust. Coming off of turn 4, let's see if we can finish a lap this time. Micus is going to lead Cosman.
I feel like these guys all in all probably only put about an hour of steady, running on the track. And really, that's not even enough to get much of a rubber buildup or do too much to anything other than the main line that the guys are running. So there's probably a lot of marbles, a lot of loose places on this track. It'll probably take them until the end of the first stage to really find their groove and get comfortable.
Hopefully we can bring up our backup timing and scoring just to tell you guys what lap and what intervals we have here in Denver. Micus leading, Cosman leading, Poteet leading, Bailey and Stanley, the top 5, as we come off the final corner to end lap number 2.
Poteet looking to make a move to the inside of Cosman as they come down the front straightaway for second.
And he does make the move side by side. Chicagoland winner last season.
It's another one of those guys we talked about not really taking advantage of having good runs when they're here, but not always being able to make it. That's definitely put him, in a place where he's almost knocked himself out of contention for the playoffs already by missing too many events. Maybe, he's determined to get that win and really get back on track tonight.
As Chad Micus has had the worst luck out of any driver that I've seen in the past season and a half. Ignoring Bailey and Frisch's terrible luck this season, Mike has got so close to winning. And I bring it up every week that I talk about him. But because he got so close to winning in Nazareth, that second race last season, it kind of solidified the whole season for him, I think. Bad luck after bad luck.
Yeah, Chad's just, not had a lot of good breaks go his way lately as here at Solstice. So nice to see him come back out, try and give it another shot, try and pick up a win here in these old school colors he's sporting on the Exalta Chevy I almost said Impala. That's really wrong. That's a long time ago.
That would have been at least a couple
It's
years.
still-
2012.
It's still embarrassing. Yeah, it's been a long time.
A long time. Let's see. So Poulin is off the lead lap in the 21. So he might be in front of Stanton, but he is off of the lead lap. Poteet and Cosman battling for second.
And it seems like they're making some progress here on the 25. They've kind of reeled him into just a couple car lengths.
And Poteet sends it into turn number 1. Just to let you know, they're at 165 miles an hour at the apex of the corner. I clocked 212 entering the corner. That's why these cars, I think, and obviously I'm not driving it, so we'll have to ask Dylan when we get a chance, but that's why I'm thinking these guys are so on the razor's edge, because when you get off the throttle very quickly, it takes off all the downforce off the rear spoiler, and around you go.
Yeah, and these big sweeping turns might even be playing into that. You get the back end real light going into those big sweepers. The back end just wants to slowly creep around on you.
As
They've caught the 25 now.
they have. They were 10th faster than Micus. So is Bailey. Stanley, is tightening up as well.
Yeah, it seems like they kind of got spread out until everybody got comfortable and settled in, and now they're all using the draft to their advantage and catching each other back up to try and get this pack back together and sort out who's going to be at the front of this thing at the end of the first stage.
And tightening and warming the tires, tightening the pack. Let's see if Poteet can get a run on the 25. If we take a look at last lap, 42.9. 42.9. And Cosman, 43.2. Fastest lap is Poteet's last lap, 42.933. Chad, 42.965. Joey Bailey and Cosman. But Cosman did not run his last lap that last lap. Nor did Bailey. So the top two ran their fastest laps last lap.
No, but those two are hooked up really, really close here, so if they can keep it together, they should be able to run the 31 and 25 back down pretty quick, I think, here.
Through 3 and 4. Gap was 0.13 of a second. Let's see what it refreshes to. I like how these guys are not even on the track. They're on the apron. 43.2, 43.2, 43.1, 43 flat for Bailey in the 51.
Oh, no, Poteet let an engine let go.
And Poteet grenades in the 31, entering turn 1. Let's see if he can stay out of the way. He's going to be clear past Erdman. He's going to have a huge gap from Lambert, so maybe he'll drop down now, unless he's going to stay up there.
No, he's finally coming down.
What a terrible bit of luck for the X-Side Batteries Mustang.
See, that's the thing, you never know if that's going to happen. That's why consistently showing up to these races is becoming such an important thing here at Solstice.
You got to develop the reliability of the cars, and you can't do that if you cannot arrive to the circuit. Up front, Cosman takes the lead over Bailey, and Micus falls to third. Poteet has pulled it behind the wall. So unfortunate end to the 31's race. Now we'll have to see if Cosman can gap Bailey. As Cosman was tied.
Like you should reevaluate that statement for a second, Josh. I don't think that's possible. We're talking about consistently the fastest guy in the field week to week. Very difficult challenge.
That's Bailey going to the lead in the 51. Cosman holds the run on the outside. Remember, this track isn't that high banked in the corners, so Cosman, even with that low banking, still can hold the spot.
Yeah, Cosman had a great run staying up there. You know, he had the advantage of running the line he wanted to run there. You know, Joey was just trying to make something work and change it up a little bit.
As official reason for the 31's retirement, blown piston from the 31 camp. Unfortunate to see.
Definitely not something you want to see, and can't make any of the other Ford drivers in the field comfortable.
As let's try and pull him in here. As Dylan Poteet, I really didn't want to talk to you this early on today. I know you were only a couple laps in, but did you have any warning to what happened? Unless he's already left the circuit here.
Although he might have gotten out of the car very quickly.
Yeah, we'll reconnect with him in just a couple of moments. He was listed on the scanner channel, but like you mentioned, he probably has obviously gotten out of the car. He actually as race control mentions to me, stages have been changed to lap 25 and to lap 50, and then to the finish of lap 88. Cosman still
So we're
leads
closing
Bailey.
in here. About a lap away from halfway through the first stage then.
Let's take a look. Lambert gets very close to Jeremy Stanley, Chris Wetz, Dylan Livengood, Cole DeRozier, Nick Baker, Steve Rada, and Poulin 13th. Jeffrey Stanton's very close to being lapped in the 61. And Erdman looked like he wanted to go to the inside of Mikas there in the 25 into turn 1. Cosman was 0.2 of a second faster than Bailey that last lap. Let's try and bring him back in here. Hey, Dylan Poteet, it's Josh Mertz up in the commentary box. You got us?
Yeah, I got you. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I figured you were trying to talk to the crew and see what had gone wrong. Did you have any warning on what was going wrong on that 31?
No, I was just riding behind Chad, and then going into one, I saw it just kind of like hiccup. It's like it just revved up for a split second, and then I started noticing. I don't have my smoke on, so I actually didn't notice it at first, but then I noticed my seat. I just was like bogging down, and then Cosman actually said that he saw somebody smoking, and I was like, oh, it's probably me. So, yeah, it said piston let go on the car, so yeah, I was gonna be a good night to make up points, and it said I'm gonna finish last, so. Like I said, just part of it. Can't remember the last time I actually blew up in a race, but it's just part of the deal. Just one of those random things that happen.
Did you, what was your feeling of the track? As we heard from our in-race reporter, Dylan Livengood, the track's very tight. It's kind of like a Kentucky. I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I can see that. Like I said, it just felt like we were kind of just following the leader right there. Just like I said, one groove. It's really hard to really make anything happen. You're just kind of waiting on somebody else to either slip up or maybe clip the wall or something. But yeah, it was tough. Like I said, you had to really wait on it. And like I said, you can't jump back in the gas. It got super tight, or you're being the wall each corner. So yeah, it was a kind of a struggle. But like I said, it was just kind of just biding my time, just seeing if I was getting a run on Chad, trying to get some laps led. Just like I said, to get some points since I've missed a couple races. So. Just part of it. Like I said, just try to get them next week and try to make some points up. Just missed the opportunity today for sure.
Alrighty, my friend. Tough luck, but go sit yourself in the hauler there. Turn us on, listen to our show, and just try and enjoy it if you can.
Yep, will do. I'll see you guys next week.
As Cosman leads Joey Bailey by 0.15 of a second. Chad was slower than both of them, but Bailey was faster than Cosman by half a tenth. Actually, I stand corrected, by a quarter of a tenth. But a quarter of a tenth is still a big margin at an oval track. Stanton's getting closer and closer to being lapped. Something's got to be wrong on that 61. He was 2 seconds slower than Cosman. Bailey to the inside of Cosman. Remember, these guys were racing for the championship last season, and both of them, some form or another, some reason or another, could not compete for the championship. As Cosman was actually leading the championship going into Atlanta, but he had some prior commitments, so he wasn't able to make the show. Obviously, this isn't the Atlanta finale, but I have to ask. Halfway into a season, do you think that would eat at him, saying, like, if I get this close, I might not be able to win the championship?
I don't know. I feel like maybe a normal person, yeah, but I mean, Cosman, like we've talked about the schedule that the man runs, the amount of races he's out there doing. You know, I feel like it's more about just going out there and performing each and every time he's on the track and making the most out of it.
As Bailey was equaled in lap time from Cosman. Let's see when they update 43.6, 43.6. So we're starting to get some drop off here on tires, I think. Remember, we are going to the end of lap 25 now. Stanton stays out of the way of the leaders as the top 6 are within a second, and then it's 5 seconds back to Wets and a further 2 seconds back to our in-race reporter, Dylan Livengood.
Jeremy Stanley making the dive under Chad Mikas for the 3rd position as they go into turn 3.
We know Stanley's good at these wide tracks.
Oh, Chad pinches him down, though. Holds him on the white line there. Makes him lose a little bit of the run.
Off of turn 4. Lambert's going to give a little bit of a bumper to Mikas. No, he's going to go to the outside. It's going to be 3 wide going into turn 1 for a moment. But Mikas cleared the 46. You got to be very adventurous to go to that outside groove because there's not a lot of rubber up there.
Yeah, I mean, even seeing these guys run like the middle where they seem to be the most comfortable, the cars look borderline on ice. I can't imagine going up any higher than that's a good idea, at least on entry. Maybe on exit once you have the car settled in, but entry seems like a really dangerous move to go in high.
Lambert tries it now on the bottom, was behind Stanley. He's getting close to Erdman in the 52. Lambert, I think, got a huge run off the corner, but he's not going to have anywhere to go. I can tell you from what I've seen, that paint on the inside, the big blue strips of paint, don't touch those. Those aren't your friends at all.
No, they're a very, I mean, it's something Denver wanted to do to have the blue aesthetic, something different, something, kind of reminiscent maybe of European racetracks and, some of the heavy paint jobs that they have and a big place to showcase sponsors. But they also wanted to make sure it wasn't any kind of thing that would be of use to the drivers. They wanted to make sure that the apron was still as far as you could go, even though there wasn't grass right up against it. So they made sure that they painted that with a really slick compound. It's almost like hitting a batch of black ice if you hit it.
Lambert to the inside of Mikas now. As we're on board, car number 46 getting close. Mikas closes the door. Will Lambert go lower? I don't think there's a track limits rule, but you're basically self-policing yourself because you don't want to get on the paint as we go into turn 1. Erdman now on the outside of his former NASA teammate, as they, I think, were teammates for a season, and then they decided that wasn't the best of ideas as they compete against each other everywhere else. Jeremy Stanley to the inside of Joey Bailey, car number 51, car number 60.
Yeah, the 52 and the 46 got together there, and you can see the draft really work as they moved by Mikas like he was standing still.
As Dylan Livengood, in-race reporter, just a quick update. 9.99 seconds behind the race leader after 20 laps, as we'll check in with him after the stage end. Stanley gets by Joey Bailey. Lambert tries now in the 46. It's so interesting to see because you'd imagine that this track, it looks so wide, yet it is so narrow. Lambert to the inside of Bailey. Bailey, I think, struggling. He was 0.4 slower than Lambert last lap and 0.2 slower than Stanley last lap.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the car's really hooked up right. Maybe he used it up a little bit earlier, or maybe he's just having trouble as the tires wear down. It seems like the 60 car, Jeremy Stanley's really coming to life on this long run.
As Cosman holds the lead, 3 to go in stage 1.
Gap's getting incrementally shorter, but not by enough that Stanley's going to be there to make any kind of move by the end of the stage, I don't think.
Half a second from Cosman to Stanley. Stanley runs it wide into turns 1 and 2, trying to get the momentum off the corner. Lambert peeks to the inside in the 46. He was at the door, but Stanley, I think, has got the momentum off the corner. Erdman to the inside of Bailey, 52 and 51. And Bailey holds the outside. Tire down on the 51. That's exactly why he was slow. And Bailey into the wall.
Oh,
bad. When it rains, it pours for Joey Bailey. And I was looking out the window, focusing on them. And the tire goes on the 51.
And now all these guys that still got to make a couple laps got to be really, heads up, paying attention to the condition of their tires, the feel of their car, and make sure they're not going to have the same problem.
Coming to the white flag in stage 1, Cosman leads Stanley, Lambert, Erdman, Mikas. You would start to think that it was a good idea for the tire to go down. Let me finish this statement before you think it was a dumb thing to say. You would think he'd be off strategy, forced into an off strategy move, but he's going to be off the lead lap because Cosman off of turn 4. Bailey's not even out of the pit lane, and that strategy, the forced strategy, is not going to work for the 51. White flag for stage 1 for Cosman. And there goes Cosman by the very slow 51. Because he's going to get the wave around, but he's going to have to queue up at the back of the field. So that's not going to help him at all.
That's going to put him in a position where he has to race hard in the beginning again. You might have the same situation by the end of the next stage.
Through turns 3 and 4. Cosman's been gone for a little bit, but he's proven to these guys that he's a force to be reckoned with. The green and white tablecloth flies for Cosman, who wins stage 1. To put it into perspective, fastest lap was a 42.9. He just ended at a 44-second lap. So tires are definitely something of an issue. Cosman, Stanley, Lambert, Erdman, and Mikas, the top 5. As Living Good, actually I think it was DeRozier with Rada came together off of the 4th corner. I take a look on my monitor here. DeRozier hit the wall into Rada right in front of her in-race reporter, Dylan Livingood. So, actually bring him in here. As Dylan Livingood, Josh Mertz up in the commentary box. I was going to talk to you about how the stage went, but you just had cars wrecking in front of you. What's going on? Let me see. Let's try it this way. Dylan, it's Josh. You got me?
Yeah, oh yeah, we got you.
Okay, so there's 2 of you listed in the scanner, so I'm trying to figure out which one is you. I was gonna talk to you about how the stage went, how the car was handling, and then you had cars wrecking in front of you. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's just all a product of this package that we brought here. I mean, this thing is so tight. This thing just eats right front tires. Well, no, I won't repeat that joke. But man, Josh, I'm having so much fun doing this. I'm supposed to be retired and washed up and not being able to do this. I might be running 9th or 8th right now, whatever we finish the stage at. I overrun my pit box, but and we're gonna have to readjust our box here. Track position is so key, and we're gonna lose it here on this pit stop, just because we messed up getting the right side tires aligned here. But this car gets really, really tight. It gets really weird when these tires cycle up through the heat cycle. Really hard to get down into turn 3 after that right front wears. Turn 1 ain't so bad, but I mean, yeah, that wreck that you guys saw in front of me, that was just a product, literally, of just how tight it is here. I mean, great package, great setup that these Solstice Racing boys brought here.
As I have to ask you, because we saw Bailey blow a tire in the 51. Is tire wear really bad because it's so tight?
I mean, it's horrible. You're literally driving on the right front. You go down to the corner and the front end just skates like no other. I mean, it's really hard here because, me being a Colorado native, it's the same thing with my street car. You go out there and you run on a really abrasive surface that's like literally like sandpaper. We talk about Darlington being rough on tires and all that stuff. It doesn't even compare to the sand that blows across this racetrack out here in Colorado.
As we'll let you go, my friend. You got some fans cheering for you. We're cheering for you. Finish up this second stage, and good luck to you.
Do appreciate it. Hopefully we can get this number 13 Native Roots Toyota somewhere up in the top 5. That's where I'm looking to run tonight. So thank you, guys.
As I don't think, obviously, we are going green yet. I think Lambert took a tire gamble. Joey Bailey, penalty on pit lane for the 51. So compounds his issues, really. As we're going to have, I believe they're going to get their laps back, but we'll have to see. 3 cars off the lead lap. Jeffrey Stanton, Jake Poulin, and Nick Baker. 1 car out of the race. It is Dylan Poteet after grenading the engine in turn 1. And I mean, I have to agree, Dylan. I have to agree with Dylan Livingood's points. I mean, this track looks so difficult to drive despite the fact of the matter that they are a second slower than their fastest laps.
Yeah, the drop off here has really been incredible. I mean, you said, well, almost 1.25 seconds or so. So it was the fall off from the beginning of the stage to the end, and that's only 25 laps. That's only 50 miles. It's not a very long distance. You know, if you were on the street and you bought a pair of tires and they were only good for 50 miles, you'd be really upset.
I would definitely want a refund on those tires. That's for sure. Field's going to be bunched up. So Lambert did take a tire gamble over Cosman. He's going to lead us. Then it is going to be Jeremy Stanley, sorry. I keep thinking of Jeffrey Stanton. Cody Erdman, Chad Mikas, Chris Wetz, Steve Rada, Cole DeRozier, Jeffrey Stanton, Jake Poulin, Joey Bailey, Nick Baker, and Dylan Livingood in-race reporter. Hometown favorite. You take E470 south side of the city around to the Littleton area. That's where he's at, off of Colorado 470. So he basically could drive the hauler here himself. Getting ready to go for stage 2 here in Denver. 25 more laps. We're going to lap number 50, green flag.
And not to interrupt the beginning of the stage action here, but you say Dylan could have drove the hauler here himself, and you know damn well he put that thing on a rollback and drove it here. He didn't buy a fancy truck to bring it here.
As I was saying that, I thought that. He brought it. I guarantee you he probably put it on a rollback, somehow got his Beamer, as Mikas slides it off of 2. He's on the paint, and that's going to hurt him. He's going to spin it. Hopefully he doesn't hit the wall. Does not hit the wall, but from 5th to last.
Oh, and they're going around. DeRozier's around off the nose of the 13, it looks like.
DeRozier gets hit by Baker. That's going to be a caution. And yeah, Dylan probably hooked his trailer somehow to his Beamer, drove his Beamer to the track.
Yeah, he went to U-Haul and got one of those pull-behinds for a car and, put it in neutral.
Wouldn't doubt it. As we slow him down again here in Denver, we're going to take another look and see. Take a look and see what this first replay is about. The director says replay and doesn't tell me what replay we're looking at. So we're just taking a look. Mikas got really close to Wetz and slid it off the corner. And it wasn't even the paint that spun him. It was just his momentum. And that's happened to me numerous times, where the momentum just sends you back up the hill. And I don't know what happened there. Well, if I ignore the fact, no. DeRozier just drove. It looked like, to me at least, I think DeRozier just thought he was clear. And then the 9 of Nick Baker hit him as well. And we're not going to bring him in. And we're not going to bring him in now because he has some colorful language when stuff happens. But we'll try and catch up with our in-race reporter at the end of the stage. As it's just a tricky track, really. I'm amazed that if we look at fastest laps, 42.935, 943, 965, 994. That's Bailey, Cosman, Chad, and Poteet. Everyone's really within 0.3. The only ones that are really off the pace, Baker, Rada, and Stanton. Everybody's pitting, except if your name is Jeremy Stanley. Steve Rada is going to stay out as well. So is Jeffrey Stanton. Stanton is off the lead lap still, so I think he's taking the wave around. See if Livingood can get into his pit stall this time.
And
take a look. Perfect entry for the 13.
Perfect job. Get it. A little slow, but he made it happen.
As Mikas misses his box in the 25. As the 13 team, the Revolution Racing crew, they don't get a lot of pit stop practice, as Wetz does not drive for Revolution Racing in Solstice. I know we kind of thought he did last season. I honestly don't think he did. They never told us what team he drove for. We just assumed. And the NASA crews only get 3 pit stops a year, and it's all at one track. Now, 3 pit stops a year if you're lucky, unlucky, I guess. As take a look, Stanley, Rada, Stanton. Lambert leads out of the pit lane. Cosman, Erdman, Bailey, Chad, Wetz, Poulin, Baker. And Livingood not happy. You might have heard him come over the scanner there. Not very pleased. That's why I did not want to talk to our in-race reporter after that incident. And we're doubling up here once the field catches back up.
You know, good thing I'm looking at here is we're only going to have about 18 or 19 laps under green on this stage. If we don't have another caution or a couple cautions. Maybe these guys will be able to actually get a little racy with one another and kind of see what they got here, you know, knowing they're going to have a couple less laps on the tires.
I think we're going back green. I think Livingood's going to get very close to jumping this restart. Green flag in Denver. Wet stays out of the way. I think there might be a car issue on the 71. As we go down into turn number 1, Mike is 3 wide with Cosman and Bailey. Rada gets very close to Erdman entering turn
Looked
1.
like slight contact. That's going to open the door for Joey Bailey to make it 3 wide.
And Bailey's going to take the spot and put him to 4th. Erdman gets loose off a 2. 3 wide again with Lambert, Erdman, and Bailey into turns 3 and 4, put him to 2nd.
I think that's a big confirmation on these guys are going to get a little bit racier. Joey Bailey making it work. Not letting that little blown tire and, you know, off-strategy error set him back. He's back on cycle with everybody now, and he's showing why he's one of the fastest drivers here week in and week out.
As we focus on Joey Bailey, it was certainly amazing to see him adapt to the ever-changing surface this past week in Barcelona as he eked out a win over yours truly. I wasn't too pleased. Tune in next week on the Automotive Sports Network as the NASA Rallycross contingent motor on the European journey to Valkenswaard. I heard Chris Wetz has won there just a few times. The track has been heavily renovated, so who knows what will happen. The broadcast is 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, only on the Automotive Sports Network next Thursday before we go on air on HVMP. As Joey Bailey to the inside of Jeremy Stanley off of turn number 4 and put the 51 to the lead after all those incidents that he had.
Yeah, it took a big swing up the track to get back to the high line, though. Almost left the door open for Stanley to come in if Erdman hadn't gotten a run inside of him.
As
we got trouble.
Loose. And
hard impact for Lambert into the wall.
And Livingood's going to hit him. And our in-race reporter into the wall. And that's the second time that the 13 has gotten caught up in an incident.
Yeah, and it just, like you said, yeah, it looks like Dylan was already back in the throttle and had the car settled into the corner, and when he saw Lambert get loose in front of him, he just tried to throttle out and kind of slow down enough to turn down the track, and it just, you know, takes all the air off the car, lightens up the back end, and it just started coming around before he got there.
As we're going to take a look at what just happened in turn 1 as everyone starts to pit. Lambert got loose it was really weird. Unless he got hit by Micah's. No, that's what happened. Chad bumped him into 1 and it just put him off his guard. I mean, to translate that, I mean, he was off his rhythm. And then poor Livingood's 150 miles an hour running the outside and just had nowhere to go. I mean, he was already yawed out at that point. So the 46 came down the hill, and almost just like what happened with Lambert and Joey Bailey in Atlanta. Wrong place, wrong time. So Erdman takes a pit gamble over Bailey and Jeremy Stanley. Mike is Cosman, Poulin, Rada, Wetz, DeRozier spins on pit exit, Baker, Lambert, and in-race reporter Livingood. I tell you, this Revolution Racing crew is getting a huge practice run trying to fix this car.
Yeah, I mean, when you guys finally get to your race where you're going to need the pit crew to be available and be on point, you know, they're going to have a pretty good jump start on the rest of the guys. Oh, somebody having trouble under caution.
And it's Rada and Wets in the 71 and the 3.
What exactly happened there?
As Rada just drove up into the 71. It looks like Wets was...
like Steve was creeping up the track and didn't know that the 71 was coming that fast, and they just made contact.
So shenanigans all evening today in Denver. As we're doubled up.
Wave the green off here.
Yeah, I was gonna next time with everyone, given all the circumstances. DeRozier, Lambert, Rada, Baker, Living Good all pit. Wets is struggling in the 71. I just caught him. I just looked out the window and caught him. He put the left rear on the paint, gassed it, it spun.
Yeah, I told you that the track spent a lot of time developing the right paint compound. Make sure that that was as off limits as, you know, grass or turf would be down there. Seems like one massive success here for the Denver Motorsports Park.
As it's definitely a refreshing challenge. Not that I like to see cars spinning and crashing all the time, but certainly interesting to see just a difficult race for these guys.
Yeah, you know, and it poses challenges. Yeah, you can use the apron, you can try to get that run and, you know, cut the track a little shorter coming to the win, but if you go too low, you're more than likely going to 86 yourself, as we'd say in the kitchen industry.
I think we're going green this time. Joey Bailey is going to be leading us. No, Erdman, sorry, is going to be leading us as he did get a better strategy. As we're wrecking under caution, Jeffrey Stanton in the 61. No, it wasn't even him. He was just parked on the exit of turn 2. Lambert tries to pick up the throttle. Spoilers at the complete wrong angle. That's weird. It went to the... No, he overcorrected. As you can see, it can't. And Lambert into the fence in the 46. He's going to have to pit it again. I don't think we're waving the green flag off. Stanton's back under green. Stanton's back under power. At this point, if you don't have damage, you're an anomaly. As we get ready to go back green, lap 36. We're going to 50 for the stage break. Green flag.
We got 14 laps to the end of the stage here. Hopefully these guys can keep it green. We can get ourselves a good little race to the end.
It's difficult to handle cars and a different style track. Proving very difficult for these guys. Through turns 1 and 2. Very calm, very collected. Single file for the top 6. As Stanley now goes to the inside on Erdman. Fakes him out, just like in the road racing world. You go to the inside, you make him know you're there, but that might have affected his run as Bailey now tries to peek to the inside.
And not much doing for Joey Bailey off of turn 4, but him in the 60 car going to get a great run and reel in the 52.
As to the outside, Stanley gets a huge slipstream on the 52. Bailey goes to the inside, and Erdman thought he wasn't going to be there as he peaked 3 wide.
Yeah, it didn't really work out because you saw him get dangerously
runs it wide in turn 1. Sorry to cut you off there. I thought Poulin was going to loop it. Erdman holds the lead. Stanley gets a run off the corner, but not like Cosman did. Cosman's 3 wide with him, Stanley, and Bailey. Bailey's got a big run. Cosman goes to the inside on the 51, and now we're getting racy.
Yeah, I think these guys know they got plenty of time. They don't have to worry about their tires, so they're really just going to send it here to the end and give it what they got. We're seeing Micus get back into the picture here, running in 5th now.
See what happens off of the 4th corner at the line. Erdman holds the lead. We'll have to take a look at top speeds entering the corner. Those guys are at 218. In-race reporter Dylan Livingood maxes out at 211, so I think he had obviously some engine damage when he was in that last wreck, but if he gets into the draft, he should be fine. As Bailey clears the maneuver on Erdman. Erdman gets a bad run off the corner. Cosman goes to the inside. Cosman washed up the hill. Stanley gets a great run off the corner, it looks like. It's so strange to see because you just You gather up a huge run off the corner.
Yeah, and it starts really early. You almost in the middle of the apex, just after the apex, you really start to see the run kick in, and it can almost stall out before you get to the exit of the turn.
I'm gonna
Very
make
hard
a
to
really
judge.
bad pun, okay? Given the car that Joey Bailey's running, it's kind of interesting that he matched with this track, because he is leading, and he ran a faster lap than anybody else that last lap.
I don't know if I should congratulate you on putting that together, or if I should just be ashamed.
I'll see myself out. I'm here all week. As our director, Brandon Nicholson, off mic, is laughing at both of us. Bailey leads.
These guys still getting racy back here. Proline trying to go 3 wide with Micus and Cosman.
As
that
Wets.
Wets.
It is Wets. Wets battling Micus and Cosman. Poulin sends it into the corner so deep in the 21 there. Off the corner, Cosman leads Micus. Micus hits the wall in the 25. Got to gather it back up. Wets goes to the inside, and we know who's good at making last-second maneuvers. It's Chris Wets in the 71. As Bailey leads off the corner. Erdman set his fastest lap that last lap. It was a 42.993. He was basically on pace with Bailey. Bailey runs a 43 flat, Erdman 43 flat, Jeremy Stanley 42.9. I think these guys are emerging as the 3 musketeers for this race.
Yeah, Jeremy Stanley's been really quietly just running here in about the top 3 or 4 all night, just kind of biding his time and letting his car come to life. He's not really super strong on the beginning in these early runs, but the longer they're out there, that car really seems to come to life and gain some time. So it seems like he's kept himself in good position, and now he's just going to try and reel these guys in towards the end of the stage.
Gets by Erdman in the 52. We have to mention, I just realized it, the only multi-time winner this season is the 41 of Brian Mercurio, and there is no Brian Mercurio here tonight. The 41's program has been, unfortunately, very sporadic. I was hoping that he would be able to make most of these races. There's no Arnold Columbia here tonight either.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of our big time, recently, our big heavy hitters are very sporadic in showing up. But, that's kind of leaving the championship to the hands of these guys who are always here week in and week out. And, that's the way you have to be, especially in a short season like this.
As the race winners that are here, Wets, Stanley, Poulin, I think that's about it, because Dylan Smith won CRI, Mercurio's won 2 races, and Columbia, who's not in the top 16 in points. We only have 3 race winners, and in the top 5, the only one is Jeremy Stanley, who won in Texas.
Yeah, and like I said, that car is just slowly doing his job here, trying to creep up and reel in the 51. It looks like he's gaining a little bit of time for the most part.
We want to update Dylan Livingood fans. His last lap was a 45.1. Bailey's last lap was a 43.1. So there's obviously some damage, given the circumstances, on car number 13.
Stanley lost some time in 3 and 4 there, going to lose a little bit of the gap that he had closed in.
But his replacement in car number 51, for NASA at least, is car number 51, Joey Bailey. And Bailey is leading by, let's take a look, 0.25, 2.5 tenths. Quarter of a second. I think this water they gave me wasn't actually water, so I thank you for correcting me there. To the inside, Erdman goes on Jeremy Stanley. And Erdman, it's so weird to see, and I've said this, I know I've said this, but you run the inside, you have to get on the binders because you don't have the momentum to hold you, and then the outside just pulls you. I didn't think it would be such big of a deal at this track.
No, but it's definitely shown that it's really hard to pass here, and I don't think it has anything to do with the package really. I think it's just a lot to do with the track and the way it's designed. Like we said, the runs come in strange places. You got to really get comfortable and know your timing to be able to pull off the move you're trying to execute, and I think it's going to lead to some interesting decision making towards the end of the race.
As point standings coming in to Denver, Bailey leads over Lambert. Bailey's got 184 points. Lambert has 21 less than him. Poulin's 22 back. Stanley's 26 back. Wetz is 27 back. That's the top 5. Yeah, so I'm looking at these point standings. I'm going to use my fingers to count here. So no Frisch, no Dylan Smith, no Kyle Riley, no Mercurio, no Corey Spencer. So only 11 of the top 16 were here tonight. It's still a 14-car field. And I say this in every NASA show. Quality over quantity.
Yeah, I mean, and we usually have around this kind of car count. Sometimes it spikes up a little bit, and it's not always the same 12 to 15 drivers, but they always put on a good show.
As Bailey, 3 laps to go in stage 2 for the 51. He had those tire issues last stage, Dylan. Obviously, we don't want the commentator's curse to happen, but we'd like to see the 51 have some form of good luck in Solstice this season.
Yeah, I definitely would like to see Joey Bailey, get a couple breaks head his way, so he can kind of get some momentum back under him. And Erdman gets into the wall off it too.
As into 3 and 4, Cosman got by Jeremy Stanley. Going to be 2 laps to go for Joey Bailey.
51 is just very strong off of turn 4, and he seems to be pulling off whatever gap these guys can gain on the rest of the track. He makes it right back in 3 and 4 every time.
Cosman ran a 43.2, Stanley a 43.4, Bailey a 43.373. And then the tires are falling off because all these guys are running 43.3s, 43.4s. So the Goodyears are screaming.
Yeah, that little bit of a couple laps of high-intensity racing definitely has put them... The tires almost look like they're back to where they were at, 25 laps into the run, and we're only about 12, 13 laps in.
Coming off of turn 4, we're going to take the white flag of stage 2, and Bailey leads Cosman, Stanley, Erdman, and Wetz the top 5. And if I look at the points, Cosman is in 8th. He's 56 points behind Joey Bailey. You really don't have to worry about anyone if you're Joey Bailey right now. You just got to hold the lead, get the points, and pad in the gap.
Yeah, I mean, we keep saying we'd like to see him get the win, we'd like to see him get the big break, but honestly, he's been doing something right all year, even though he hasn't had, the best of luck. I mean, he's without a win, points leader, pretty heavy points lead at this point into the season. So, I mean, he's just doing everything right that he can and controlling everything that is within his power.
A lot like my teammate Philip Kraus in NASA Rallycross. 3 races in, hasn't won a race, has had 3 consecutive third-place finishes. Bailey wins Stage 2 in Denver over Cosman, Stanley, Wetz, and Erdman. It's all about consistency. Kraus is doing it in NASA, and Bailey is doing it in Solstice. As once we got through those shenanigans at the first part, it was a pretty clean stage, I have to say.
Yeah, it was pretty, minus the little scrums in the beginning. Once they got settled in, everything was pretty solid.
I didn't think I'd be talking to you this early, Joey Bailey, given your luck. Love you, buddy.
How you guys doing?
How's the car handling after, deciding that your Goodyear tire wasn't going to make it through turns 3 and 4 in stage 1?
Stage 1 was my fault. I just got really greedy and was trying to just find lines that would work. It's been a while since I run here and just burned it off. And this last run, I just was going to take what it can give me and got us a stage win. So if we could stay up front and get our track position, then we can pull off a win tonight, I think.
So I have to repeat my joke that I mentioned earlier on the air in the commentary box. You think you're a good match for this track?
Absolutely. By far, I only did one other race here at the APRS, and we ended up winning it. And it's a unique track. It reminds me of running a really flat California, and it's very easy to overstep your boundaries here. But hopefully, stage 3 goes quick, and I could have a win and a date tonight.
Even given your new sponsorship here, we'll let you finish up your pit stop, and hopefully we'll maybe talk to you after the race in Victory Lane. Good luck, my friend.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Good luck, Joey.
As 3 wide off of pit lane for second, Cosman, Micus, Erdman. Stanley comes out in 5th. As, take a look here. Hey, buddy. I know you've had some bad luck. What's been going on in the 13 camp?
Hello?
Hello, buddy. I just asked you. I know you've had some bad luck in the stage. What's going on in the 13 camp?
Yeah, it's just been a tough race. Going down in turn 1 there, we ended up getting into the brakes kind of a little bit weird, and just for whatever reason, the car did not want to turn off of the direct orbit towards Lambert. And
what happened with DeRozier? Did you hold your line? DeRozier came down, or what happened there?
I don't know if I took the arrow off of him or what was going on there. I felt like I didn't make contact with him, but again, I don't have my eye in the sky like you guys do, so.
What are your? Are you having any damage? Are you having any issues with top speed or anything?
Yeah, we're having some engine issues right now. Just trying to run around and see what we can salvage for these fans here.
All right, my friend. I think we're going green. We'll talk to you shortly.
Best of luck.
Bailey leads Cosman, Micus, Erdman, Poulin. I think Jeffrey Stanton restarting 7th, but he's on the apron to let these guys by. Green flag for the final stage here in Denver. Cosman gets a terrible start. Car length lead already for Bailey. There's a black flag for Lambert, black flag for Wetz, black flag for Jeremy Stanley. So a lot of the heavy hitters are in the back of the field. One around, it's Cosman into Erdman, and both of them are into the fence. And for the second consecutive week, Erdman upside down.
Yeah, that was a horrible crash. Cosman really got some scary air on that one.
And what luck? What non-existent luck does Cody Erdman have? If he doesn't have any luck, he's got some bad luck. Into turn 1. Looks like Cosman. Oh, I think Micus Cosman came together.
Yeah, it definitely looks like the 25 and him make contact. They both just went in a little too aggressive into the corner. Pretty sure it looks like a racing deal.
The man from Wisconsin into the fence again. They towed the car back to pit lane. He's actually parked it. Him and Cosman out of the race, and this changes it all because Cosman was battling Bailey.
There might not be anybody who has anything left for him now.
And a huge wreck on the race restart. If we take a look at the points, Lambert's got damage. Poulin's 22 points back. Stanley's 26. But, I mean, you take Cosman out of the equation. Cosman was fast. If we look at the fastest laps, Poulin was. He 42.809. But what? Wow. Let's we'll wait a couple seconds until Cody gets cleared. But what rotten luck for the 52. There's really nothing else you can say. As him and Chad made contact on the restart and up into the fence. It was really weird, too, because Cody basically ramped off of Cosman's car. Like, that was the whole thing. And it was second and fourth involved in this wreck. I'm going to look at helicopter from my monitor here. And I think... Oh... Well, Cosman came down. Chad held his line, I think, and Cosman just came down. They both hit the wall. It tossed Erdman onto his side, and then they both ramped onto each other. And into the fence they both went.
Yeah, once the cars got up into the fence there, it was just, that was a mess. That was a scary accident for everybody involved.
So... Stanley and Poulin are going to be on the front row of the grid once we go back green. Bailey, I think, got he had a better strategy than him, but I think Bailey's just taking it easy, just trying to get all the tires and fuel and everything that he can. Micus is going to be at the back of the field here. Down pit lane is Wetz and him. As Stanley, Poulin on the front row. As Jeffrey Stanton in 4th, 5th is Baker, 6th is Living Good. I just want to tell you, before we go green, if you don't go into orbit, you might actually win this race. Hopefully he's...
You know, as far as that's concerned, we are pretty lucky there, Josh.
As I look out the window and I see my teammate from NASA, Cody Erdman, and Cosman both into the fence. It looked like Cosman came down on Chad. Did you hear anything from the driver scanner?
Oh, you know, these drivers are pretty upset about that last incident there, Josh. Lots of going at each other, and I mean, we're boiling up to the cutoff for the playoffs, so of course everyone's kind of on edge and just wanting to get this race done. It's been a long race. It was a long start to it. Track's just been a bitch, and we're trying to get through it.
As keep your nose clean, we might see you in victory lane at this point, my friend. Good luck.
Hopefully.
As Stanley, Poulin, Bailey, Stanton, Baker, Livingood, Wetz, Micus, Lambert, DeRozier. DeRozier's on pit lane, so we only have 9 cars left. And I think this race finished a lot like, or is running a lot like Texas. Texas had an issue too. Obviously, we were having some technical issues, so we weren't able to cover that race. But from what I've heard, kind of a good thing, because Texas was a mess as well.
Yeah, you know, I wasn't present for Texas, but you know, I definitely heard some things about how that went, and from what I've been told, definitely seems like we're running into that general, you know, realm in this race as well.
As let's bring up timing and scoring again as we get ready to go green. Lap 55 of 88. Stanley, Poulin, Bailey, Stanton, Baker, Livingood, Lambert, Wetz, Micus, the 9 cars that are left. Green flag. As Bailey gets a good run off the restart, goes low. Stanley tried to block, couldn't get that done. Into turn number 1. Poulin looks to the outside. As 11 cars, I stand corrected. DeRozier's on pit lane, and Steve Rada off the lead lap. He is coming back to the pack here. DeRozier trying to get back on track as well. Off of turn 2, Bailey leads Stanley and Poulin. Jeffrey Stanton in 4th there, getting passed by Wetz. As DeRozier exits the pit lane, immediately has some issues under throttle, but all 11 cars that are still on track are on track. And Bailey, if you're Stanley, you have to keep Bailey in your sights.
Yeah, this is not a time where you can really let him take anything. I mean, you know your car's going to be fast towards the end of the longer run, but, you know, from what we've seen here recently, it doesn't look like you're going to get a very long run, so you really need to keep him close now. That way, when you start to have a better car or he slips up, you can take advantage.
As off the corner, Bailey was 0.3 of a second faster than Stanley. DeRozier's having some issues in the 23.
So I don't know. It's just getting smaller and smaller.
I don't know if the 23 is going to be staying out of the way of the leaders or not. Talk about Lambert, who's in 7th, who has no rear bumper and is still in this pack. As Bailey 43 flat, Stanley 43.3. The gap is half a second from Bailey to Stanley. Stanley now feeling pressure from Wetz. We haven't talked about Wetz all evening, aside from when he ended up in the infield, I would say grass, the infield paint, under caution. But he was 0.2 of a second faster than Stanley last lap.
Kind of trying to watch any of these guys back off of Joey Bailey to see if any of them have the kind of exit off of turn 4 that they're going to need to really be able to put a move together. And the 71 seems relatively strong in the part of the corner he needs to be strong in. It's just a matter of, can he get up there?
He was 0.3 of a second faster than Bailey that last lap around. As Baker
it's almost leading me to believe that Chris has been playing possum all day, because we see how fast his teammate in the 52 was until he got caught up in that accident. You know, we knew Chris has got the same equipment under that car. Maybe he's just been taking it easy.
As a quick update on our in-race reporter, he's battling with Jeffrey Stanton and Nick Baker. Interestingly, he was faster than both of them with a damaged car. Bailey holds the lead. The gap was 0.4 of a second last lap. Let's see if he's lengthened it. It certainly looks like it has been lengthened. Well, it was 0.38, and now it's 0.41, so marginally. But he was faster, marginally faster, than the 60 and the 71. Poulin was faster than him, though.
Yeah, Poulin's starting to creep into the picture back there in the 21, coming into picture there behind the 71 car. He's got Chad Micus behind him. Seems like giving him a good push from behind, so he should be able to reel these guys in here. Just hopefully he'll have enough when he gets there to do something with them, make it interesting.
This is an interesting race because we had last week the strategic thriller of Arnold Columbia, Joey Bailey. I think Michael Frisch was in there too, if I remember correctly. But now this is just really a sprint race. Like, you get a caution, you bunch them up, you go again. You get a caution, you bunch them up, you go again, and we haven't really had a run. At least I don't think, because of the stages.
Yeah, I mean, other than the opening stage, after we got things sorted with the transponder issues and everything and really got going, the first stage was a pretty long, wide open run. And ever since then, they've all been relatively short. I think the longest run we've had since was about maybe 13, 14 laps, and that was at the end of the last stage.
As Wett's getting closer on Stanley in the 60. Looks like he's got to run
Really
off the
drove it
corner.
into 3. Gonna pay off for him. Getting a big run down the front straightaway here.
Bailey's lead, 0.44. Now it is 0.46, so it really hasn't changed. It's the battle for second between Jeremy Stanley and Chris Wetz. Wetz way on the outside. Poulin slides it in the 21. Saves it.
Nice job to the 21 car, keeping it off the wall there.
Is the save of a 4-time champion. What a save from Poulin.
You know, it's not over yet. He's still got some time. If his tires aren't completely shredded, I'll bet you see him creeping back up into the picture again before it's all over.
There's just a little strategy, or stat nugget, rather. Jake Poulin is a 4-time champion, tied with Ryan Williams for a 4-time champion. I mean, I'm a stat guy, so if I was in Jake Poulin's shoes, I would certainly try to break that little tie for all-time champion list. And with that kind of save, you can tell that he's still got it.
Oh, yeah, definitely still got it. Hasn't always had the best luck here recently, but, you know, always a quality driver, always out there, always running at the top. You know, he'll find a way by the end of the season to put himself in position to be contender.
Wett's huge run off of turn 2, goes to the inside of Stanley. And the battle for second. Will we see the man from Texas in the 71 take the second spot? It was 0.48 from Bailey to Stanley. And now Wetz
gains on that second half of turns 3 and 4. He really gets a good run there.
Let's see what it changes to. I have to think that this gap has shrunk.
Yep.
It has, by 0.5. And that was with Wetz passing Stanley.
Yeah, you know, it'd be really fun to see if he's got even more than that now that he's gotten past the 60, and 25 is going to keep him busy. He can really drive off and see what he's got for the 51.
Let's see what happens. Last lap, 43.5. Bailey, 43.2 for Wetz. The Wetz runs the outside line. I think that's the highest I've seen someone race at this track, groove-wise. I just realized what I have to interrupt for a second. I just realized what I said, and I realized what track we're at. So please don't fill the gaps in that way. As Bailey, the gap got cut in half. 0.2 from Bailey to Wetz. I think Wetz has figured out the high line, even though it's not rubbered in, is the fastest way around this track.
Yeah, and it's not so much of an advantage in turns 1 and 2, but in 3 and 4, he's really killing it. He's making big gains on these guys. It's almost like a half diamond. He goes in really high, stays really high, and then pulls that thing down on the exit and really gets a good run off the corner. And you can see it by watching these guys go through the corner. You can see the point where the 71 starts to pull on the car behind him that's been making ground into 3.
Will we see some strategy? Because I have to, I'm going to roast him on air here. I don't know how Solstice officials have allowed it, but Dylan Livingood has snuck either his cellular Apple Watch or his iPhone into the car because he texts me and says, I'm clutching. So, they will have to pit Bailey and Wetz. The gap is... Go ahead.
Doubling down on the 71 if this is going into strategy. We all know how smart he is.
22 laps to go. Bailey leads Wetz. And for the third consecutive week, hopefully it doesn't happen, but will the strategic bug bite Bailey again?
Oh man, I didn't
Lucas
even think
Oil,
about it from that angle.
Darlington, Denver. Obviously, hopefully we don't hope it happens, but he's had the worst luck on the strategic rotation. You know what? If I'm the 13, aside from the fact that it's still living good, aside from the fact he's our in-race reporter, if I was the 13, you have engine damage, it's your one-off appearance, you got to do something. As Wet's huge run,
Wetz gets
slipstream
a
off the
big
23 of
run.
DeRozier.
Using the lap car to his advantage, manages to get right to the back of Joey Bailey, and now it'll be interesting to see if he can get the run off of turn 4 like he's been getting and really close in and keep himself close.
Stanley closed in as well. So did Micus. 4 cars within half a second.
And Wetz is there. He is all over the back of the 51.
43.5, 43.6. The gap is .07. There's no gap anymore. Wet's to the outside. So the winner from Milwaukee.
Yeah,
Battling.
.07 means they're side drafting for those of you who are wondering.
That's correct. Outside off of turn number 2 from high above. He has a bumper on the 51, and he's got the momentum off the corner.
He doesn't have the advantage now, though, of being able to pull down coming off the turn like he's been wanting to do the last few laps through these corners. So if Joey Bailey can be smart enough to keep him pinned to the outside, he might be able to restrict the gains that the 71's been making.
Stanley's doing the same thing, running the outside, and he's got a huge run over Micus. Pulling him 2 car lengths, Wet's to the lead, and now this is getting interesting. 20 to go.
You see Wetz swing outside here as they get into past the start-finish line, try and break the draft to the 51, doing everything he can to make sure that he has every advantage possible in these closing laps.
If we update the gap here, we'll take a look on timing and scoring. When Living Good crosses the line, it was 15.5 seconds. With him clutching, it is now 17 seconds. Will the 13 play a strategic coin and force these guys to pit? I mean, they do have to pit, but will he force them to pit early?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if these guys know that he's doing that. I'm sure that's something he hasn't communicated with them, especially if he was taking the risk of texting you while driving. So these guys might not even realize. They might just think everybody's going to pit and then end up getting caught behind because Dylan's been clutching this whole time and was prepared. So, I mean, that's one way to make it interesting. If you're on low power and you want to try and pull something out of you-know-what, that's a quick way to give a shot at it.
I have to tell you, with his Apple Watch, I don't know how he did it with the helmet on, but you put that...
Unless he has it somehow synced in by Bluetooth to his microphone in the car and he was doing voice to text, that's the only way I can imagine.
Well, he sent me 2 texts. One said I'm collecting, one said I'm clutching, so that answers our question.
Yeah.
Wetz leads over Bailey, over Stanley, over Micus. 5th place is Poulin, who pits in the 21, so this is the first coin of the strategic game that has been flipped.
All right, Poulin the first to pull the trigger on the strategy. And with the situation he was in, he's probably at the spot where he had to do it now. He can probably put 2 tires on it and, make up some of the time that he was losing from heating those tires up on that slide.
And Poulin, I don't think was too close to these guys. The gap is 22 seconds for the 13. So I think
Stanley
he
gets in
is
really high
clutching
in
to
the
where
corner.
he does not want to have to pit.
Yeah, I don't think that the 13 car is planning on pitting. This is a one-off show for him. He's just here to see what he can do. He has nothing to lose. Why not?
Wetz 43.8, Bailey 43.8, Stanley 43.9, Micus 44.1. I don't think DeRozier's being scored. Well, he is, but he just didn't clock a lap last lap. That's odd. 44.1. Baker leaves the pit lane. Poulin is out of the pit lane now. Let's see Living Good's last lap. 46.4. So he's 0.6 of a second slower, even with clutching. These guys aren't clutching. They're just easy on the gas. We're coming to 15 laps to go here in Denver.
Yeah, it's a
And the
long
top
way to go
4.
on tires. Even if you're going to try and make it on gas or you think you're good, that's a lot of time on these tires. We're right at about the length of a stage. And, we've seen tonight that 20-25 laps is almost more than these tires can handle.
So off the lead lap, Poulin, DeRozier, Baker, Stanton, and Rada. 3 cars out of the race. Cosman, Erdman, after their vehicular gymnastics, and Dylan Poteet, who blew up around lap 10.
I think we need to hold a driver's meeting and remind these guys that billboards are not the enemy.
As Stanton I don't know if Stanton's behind the wall as he hit the wall and he parks it in the 61. So not a good race. As pitting is Micus, Stanley, and Bailey on lap 73. And they raced into pit lane. Hopefully they don't get a speeding penalty. I'm going to look at my monitor here, try and get a replay. But if pit lane is, that's going to be tough. I don't know when the commitment line or when the pit lane line is, but they were all locked him up.
Well, I don't hear any chatter about black flags. So I feel like everybody should be okay. But we won't know probably until the end of pit lane, so it's probably going to be another minute until we know for sure.
Our strategic gamble, Dylan Livegood, in-race reporter, is coming down pit lane, so the gamble's not going to pay off. Where is Poulin? Poulin is behind Wetz, our race leader. Wetz pits.
Yeah,
These guys,
we just put all the numbers in the lottery machine and started hitting buttons now.
So how are these guys going to ace the pit exit? We know Wetz is good on road courses. You know why I say
Oh, he
that?
missed his entry. He had to back up.
As he misses the pit entry,
Not
you can
good.
you
Not
can
a good
gain that
situation.
pace back on the exit. But it's going to take a lap or two for timing and scoring to catch up. Wetz exits the pit lane. Where's Bailey? Bailey, Micus, Stanley. I don't know why I keep messing those up. Maybe 61 and 60, same car numbers, really? But Stanley had a terrible pit lane run, and I think they were not off the lead lap. So Wetz, I think, is going to lose the race lead.
Poulin is catching him really quickly. I'm not 100% sure if that's where it shakes out to, but like we
We'll
said,
have
it's
to
going to
take
be
a
a
look
little
and
while
see.
until timing catches up.
Because it's not, obviously, with it being a bigger track,
Takes a while to cycle here.
there's no way, because Livegood had to pit as well. So we'll have to see. I think he's on the tail end of the lead lap. But we'll have to look as we cross the start-finish line.
I'm over here dropping things in the booth. Sorry for the noises, everybody.
Race leader, Joey Bailey. Second place, Micus. Third place, Poulin. Fourth place is Wetz. Fifth place is Stanley. Sixth place is Lambert. Seventh is Baker. Eighth is Livegood. So
Not to
Livegood,
get ahead of ourselves, but it seems like for now, Joey Bailey might have made the right strategy call.
Livegood is clutching again. Into the wall goes the 13.
You know, maybe he didn't take so much fuel. They didn't get it all in.
But why wouldn't you? This is fascinating to me because there's no built-in overtime. So these guys are going to 88 whether they like it or not. At least I don't think so. At least I think so. Let's look at lap times. 43.2, 43.2, 43.6, 43.1. You do get confirmation. We do have overtime. It's a lot like what happened in Mid-Ohio and Lexington at that race. That in the instance that we do need overtime, Flagger is going to throw the white and the checkered. Regardless, we go past that if we need it. Coming to 10 laps to go at the Denver Motorsport Park. Glad you could join us here on the High Voltage Media Productions. If you've been with us all evening long through the NASA Rallycross Barcelona Grand Prix, through the start here. As we had mentioned in a previous ad read, Joey Bailey eked out a win over yours truly. Made me kind of upset, but I did it to myself in the final corner in Barcelona. Got immediately hired to Revolution Racing, and I think that momentum is helping him here as he leads after 78 laps of 88 here in Revolution Racing's hometown in Denver, Colorado. In-race reporter Dylan Livegood, who signed Mr. Bailey to the 51 for Revolution Racing, has had some issues. He got caught up with Lambert, got caught up with DeRozier, and has not had a good day, but certainly having fun in a one-off appearance for Revolution Racing. He sits in 8th right off the lead lap, first car off the lead lap. We had Chris Wetz leading. He was fighting Bailey. Lost the lead on the pit stop rotation, but Dylan, how can we forget talking about Erdman and Cosman in turn 1 on the restart?
Yeah, Definitely, with the high speeds, it was something we hadn't ruled out, but definitely not something that we expected with the low banking. But those guys got together, the cars hooked just right, and the next thing you know, there's 2 cars trying to take down the billboards in turn 2. Never something you want to see, but it was definitely exciting for the fans and the drivers alike, I'm sure. Definitely shook up the running of this race, as Cosman and the 51 were clearly the class of the field at the time.
9/10 of a second from Bailey to Chad Mikas. He was a 10th faster, maybe half a 10th faster. And is he closing on the 20 or on the 51? Is the 25 closing on the 51?
It's periodic. It seems like Chad has him for a lap or two, and then Joey has him for a lap or two. I've been paying attention to the timing a lot here, and Chad gets close and gains about a half a tenth a lap for a couple laps, and then Joey picks up about a half a tenth a lap for a couple laps.
43.2 for Wetz last lap, 7 seconds. I have to say, Dylan, there's no way you lose 7 seconds by overrunning your pit stall. I just think that because he stayed out, that's what killed him.
Yeah, I think he just lost a lot of time. The tires were really shot when those guys finally decided they were going to have to pit. I think he just went with the rest of the group. Unfortunate that he was the leader and kind of got okey-doked that time. It's probably going to be the downfall of him in this race.
Area 52 could not ace the strategy. It reminds me of Sebastian Vettel last week in Belgium. He was behind Charles Leclerc, pitted late, got passed by both Mercedes, goes from 2nd to 4th, and that's what happened with Wetz. I mean, he's faster than these two, but with 8 laps to go, there's no way you can close 7 seconds. Unless there's a caution. Of course, we're going to cross our fingers that there isn't, but if there's a caution, I think it's Wetz's race.
Yeah, I think if there's a caution, definitely. The 71's the guy to watch. He's definitely, we know he was holding back for a lot of the race. He's got more than he showed for a long time. He's definitely going to probably be that guy. Just right now, it doesn't look like we're going to get it.
As Livingood bounces it off the wall. He's sitting in 9th. He's still the first car 1 lap down. He's battling DeRozier. DeRozier's closing up on him. 13 still clutching, so I think they might have not packed that car full of fuel. Gap is 1.05 of a second. Bailey has been growing that gap.
Yeah, and if I'm Joey Bailey, no offense to the 25, but he hasn't been extremely fast since the first stage when he led most of it. And he hasn't really shown that he's had the ability to gain on the 51 consistently. So if I'm Joey Bailey, I'm just trying to hit my marks and bring this thing home.
Let's see what it updates to. It is now an even second. It was 6.46 at the line last lap from Bailey to Wetz. Wetz is 0.2 of a second faster, but I know I just said that. 0.2 of a second's not. It's not going to do anything. I think this race, Mikas has to pull something out of the hat. I mean, fastest lap-wise, he's been quicker than Bailey, but that was over a 1-lap period. Poulin has the fastest lap of the race, 42.809. But even Poulin's slower than the 2 race leaders. 5 to go in Denver for Joey Bailey. He was a 10th faster that lap. The gap's 1.18. Chad Mikas 2nd. 3rd, Chris Wetz. 4th, Jeremy Stanley. 5th, Jake Poulin. 6th, Brandon Lambert. 7th, Nick Baker. 8th, Steve Rada. Rada's had a tumultuous time here tonight. Transponder issues and all the like. As DeRozier passes our in-race reporter, Dylan Livingood, who is sitting in 10th. He's the last car on the track as we have 4 retirements. Jeffrey Stanton, Cosman, Cody Erdman, and Dylan Poteet.
Yeah, and if you want to hear from us in the beginning, the 31 Dylan Poteet had a very strong car the first 5 or 6 laps until the piston let go. Unfortunately for him, going off into the corner while he was trying to battle for the lead.
We thought he could take the fight to Bailey, but it was not to be. As 43.799 for Bailey, 0.844 for Chad. Chad was half a tenth down. Rada's pitting in car number 3 in front of the leaders. And we'll take the 3 off the lead lap. Gap is still 1.18. And Dylan, even despite the fact that it hasn't been the most exciting given the track, it's certainly been still a very interesting race.
Yeah, once again, we got to see strategy come into play. I've been super excited with the different strategies and different issues that we've been encountering the last few weeks. It's been nothing but fun to come here and commentate and watch these guys go out and just be faced with a different challenge week in and week out. It seems like it's something I say every week, but it really makes me excited for what we got next week, to see what kind of challenges are going to be presented, what kind of strategy we're going to see play out then.
As we take 2 to go in Denver for Joey Bailey over Chad Mikas.
And the gap is pretty much stabilized here right around 1.1 seconds. Not a lot of give or take either way.
As into turn 3, we're going to come to the white flag for Joey Bailey over Chad Mikas. As next week, we'll have to take a look and see. We have to finish this week first. Bailey takes the white flag in Denver. As he came to NASA Rallycross this week. Somehow pulled the win out of the hat, gets signed to Revolution Racing. You know why I bring this up? Because Dylan Smith won last week, runs in Solstice, had some bad luck. But Bailey, after 7 weeks of bad luck, bad strategy, being involved in wrecks, anything like that, he's going to get a clean sweep of the ASN and HVMP broadcasted races. As he's a perfect match, pun intended, Bailey wins in Denver and solidifies the points lead.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he needed to do. Come in here, just be solid, hit his marks, stayed out of trouble all night. Had the incident early on, but didn't manage to avoid all the scrums with other cars, and that's what happens when you come here and you run a good, clean, solid race.
Mikas, Wetz, Stanley, Poulin, Lambert, Baker. Last cars on the lead lap, then it's DeRozier, Rada, Livingood, Stanton, Cosman, Erdman, and Poteet. So what you're telling me, Joey Bailey, is you're going to win every NASA race because you carried the momentum here to Denver.
Yeah, it seems like it. Definitely got my confidence back up winning on Tuesday, and I knew we were fast here every week. We just had to put a race together, and stage 2 and beginning of stage 3, I just tried to take it as easy as I could and realized that I wasn't really burning my left side tire, so just only took 2 and held on for the win.
As obviously I asked you this earlier, how difficult was it to drive this track, to drive this car? You had people clutching. It doesn't look like you were clutching. Did you hear anything over the radio with Wetz? Because he was battling you, and then the next thing we know, he's 7 seconds behind you on the pit stop rotation.
I think he just took 4 tires. That's what I thought. I only had to take about half a gallon of fuel, so I just decided to do rights on it, and that's what Chad did, and ultimately that strategy worked out. We ended up 1-2, very far ahead of the field, I think.
As Dylan, you got anything for our race winner?
Yeah, man, just happy to see you finally be able to put a complete race together, man. It's been unfortunate to see the bad luck bug get you, the strategy not play out for you these last few weeks. Really, just happy that you could finally, put a race together, get the win, and give everybody a statement as to why you are the points leader.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And like I said last week, when it didn't work out our way, we just had to keep running like we were, and eventually wins were going to come, and now they're here. Hopefully they don't stop.
As in-race reporter Dylan Livingood joined us from pit lane inside the car. Dylan, you got anything for our race winner or anything about the race in general?
Hey, Joey, congrats. I sit up here and I watch this racing every single week, and I'm like, damn, it would be freaking fun if I went down there and I joined these guys. And I joined you guys tonight, and oh my God, let me tell you, what you guys do takes pure talent. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if people say it's a video game. I don't care if I'm breaking down the fourth wall right now. You guys have a lot of talent. You guys can just put on a show for us fans, and it's it's incredible how much work on the driver's end has to go into doing all this broadcast. I just wanted to give a big handout to the drivers for keeping this racing competitive and making it fun and exciting.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think the best thing that happened all night was, unfortunately, was when Cosman and Cody ended up breaking out. I think those two were my biggest competitors. Jeremy was real good in the beginning. Not sure what happened to him towards the end, and Wetz was ultimately the biggest challenge on that last stint.
Yeah, and Joey, I mean, you ran the same racetrack I did. I'm sure you could preach to us about how much track position mattered tonight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it seemed like everyone was running a little bit of a different line than I was. I was much more comfortable on the bottom and getting my car to hook on that apron, getting my left sides down there. Everyone else was running up towards the top, and I kind of had to go out of my comfort zone just to get up there.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about this racetrack, Joey, is us drivers, we talked about it before the race, and we're like, well, how many grooves is this racetrack supposed to have? And we're like, well, maybe 2, maybe 3, and the rest of everyone was like, no, it's definitely a 1 groove racetrack. Once he got out of that 1 groove, then that's really when your car started to come alive. I felt, even though I was running for 8th and 9th, not up with, the big dogs like you guys, I still felt like I could put my car in different positions and still make a difference in my corner.
Yeah, no, for sure. The track definitely changed up with how the race went on. It rubbered up a whole lot, and the tire wear definitely played a big factor into it. If you ran your car really hard in the beginning, then you were just going to have nothing left, and you were going to be up by the wall, just fighting to survive. But luckily, everything worked our way, and we're in victory lane tonight.
Well, congrats, dude. I mean, man, I can't wait to get this opportunity again. That was fun racing against you guys.
Appreciate you guys, and I'll definitely see you on Tuesday.
As I just have to say that it might not have been the most exciting on track, but this track certainly is one of my favorites. And it's just going to be, we're just going to continue this momentum, and we'll have to see what happens next week. I've been so excited with what has happened today. I'm going to be honest, Dylan, I have no idea where we're going. I'll have to look at the schedule really quick. We go to Dover, the Monster Mile next week. That's going to be certainly a great race. From all of us here on High Voltage Media Productions, Dylan Livingood, Brandon Nicholson, Dylan Body, I myself, Josh Mertz. We'll see you next week on the Automotive Sports Network in Valkenswaard, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and then we will see you on High Voltage Media Productions right after that at Dover Downs in Dover, Delaware. Congratulations to Joey Bailey. We'll see you next week. So long, everyone.